Defensive back day here at the Woody. I'm Stephen Means. That's Stefan Krajisnik, and that's Andrew Gillis. We talked to the cornerbacks and we talked to the safeties. Let's start with the cornerbacks, though. Stefan, you were at Tim Walton for the entire time he was talking, and there's maybe a bunch of stuff that we can get into here, but it does seem like the topic of the day is versatility, because if you ask Tim Walton where a guy is playing, he's going to say, wherever we want.
That is true, and honestly, and I'm sure we'll talk about the safeties, if not on a video, then at least on the podcast, Buckeye Talk. Like the whole defensive back, like they want everyone everywhere right now in the spring, and as you mentioned right before the video, like is that what it's going to look like when August rolls around? Probably not. You know, guys are going to start solidifying themselves more, but the theme throughout this spring, especially when talking to Coach Day and listening to Coach Day, is that the roster limit. And when you have these roster limits in place, the kind of, I guess, strict nature of needing guys to be versatile, right? We see it on the offensive line with Austin Saraville. You're seeing it on defense. Caleb Downs showed you that already last season, that you can put him at middle linebacker and he's going to be an All-American level player. But like, what's something we saw in the open practices, earlier in spring ball? Jermaine Matthews playing a lot in the slot. See guys moving at nickel. I think Bryce West is one of those guys that's pretty versatile. Like Lorenzo Styles is one of those guys that's versatile. You're going to be moving him a ton. Like they want guys to be in a lot of different spots. And Tim Walton obviously is one of the main voices. Like you said, like any player you asked him about, he talked about versatility. And I think that it's going to be important in this defense. It kind of gets me a little bit excited about what this Matt Patricia defense will look like, because the way he's talked about C.J. Hicks, putting him in the best role to make plays. Arvell Reese, moving him around to make plays. Defensive backs are not, an exception to that. They're going to be moving around, being put in positions to make plays. So I'm excited about what this room can do, because the corners and the safeties are so talented. So they're so rich with talent that we've had these discussions of how do you put your best, in this situation, best five on the field, right? Like how do you get your best five players on the field? Versatility is a big part in that, right? Like we've talked about it, where if we think Devin Sanchez, who you're going to talk about, is one of the three best corners, then why not have Jermaine play more in the slot, so that when you have to make some moves, you can keep a guy like Devin on the field. You can keep a guy like Jermaine and Davison on the field. So it's an exciting group. It's one that I think we're going to monitor a ton in fall camp and kind of see when guys maybe do solidify themselves in some roles. But what they're doing right now in the spring is showing you that wherever they fit best or wherever you need them, you can put the best available player.
And I think a lot of that is being centered around that nickel spot, because the first thing Matt Guerrero got asked is, how many guys are you trying to replace Jordan Hancock with, right? Pro Day showed me Jordan Hancock is a much better athlete than maybe all of us realized, and we realized he was a good football player, but his Pro Day numbers were pretty crazy as well. Get the text 614-355-3315, 2-week free trial, $3.99 for that. We texted that out as soon as we got that information. Andrew, it seems like there's a lot of people playing it, right? But there's two guys where this is like their role. And that's Lorenzo Styles and Bryce West. Both of those guys making transitions into that spot. Lorenzo Styles, a former Notre Dame wide receiver, and Bryce West, an outside cornerback moving into the interior.
Well, there's also Miles Lockhart, too. Lockhart plays in the slot as well. But, yeah, the theme that you got from both of them was versatility, again, but a little bit differently. So with Bryce, it was, I got to learn to play a lot of different things. He talked about coming in and playing inside, and there were things that he had to learn about technique and hand placement and all these different kind of things that just, you think of as an outside corner. He's like, yeah, you got cover 1, cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, but there's so much more that goes on at the slot position. So I think that's an underrated part of this as well. It's, you're replacing Jordan Hancock, yeah, and oh, look how great he was athletically, and here's how you could move him around, but like, you got to be a really smart football player to play that role, especially as you get closer to the football. So that was something that Bryce West talked about. And then at least in an adjacent kind of way, Lorenzo Styles talked about, being versatile, going, I want to play on all 4 special teams. He was talking about getting on kick return. He was talking about playing as many different roles as he can. And for somebody that has played, like you said, at Notre Dame and played in 2 different programs and now been around the block a little bit, he's got to get onto the field some way. And right now that's at slot corner. So he's the most experienced slot corner. We've seen him taking reps with ones. We'll see this upcoming Saturday if that's going to change, or we'll see kind of how things evolve there. But yeah, I think when you talk about that slot corner position with Lorenzo Styles and Bryce West, and then obviously Miles Lockhart, those guys have to be spectacular in their roles, because if we're going to talk about Devin Sanchez and Aaron Scott and Davison Igbinosun and Jermaine Matthew, we're going to talk about all these guys. Oh, well, they can play on the outside, but then you could also move them inside. The inside guys, Lorenzo Styles, Bryce West, Miles Lockhart, have got to give Walton and Guerreri a reason to say, no, don't take me off the field. I am the best slot corner on this team. So they talked about versatility. They talked about kind of knowing the game. And that is, I think, an underrated part of what they have to replace with Jordan Hancock.
Spring is about individual development, and it's just the defensive backs trying to create options everywhere. And it seems like they do have options everywhere, but do they have quality options? They've got 2 starting cornerbacks right now with Davis Adigmenosin and Jermaine Matthews, and then Caleb Downs is their starting safety. But what do they have outside of that? That's what they have, about 5 more practices to figure out. And we'll be in here on Saturday for the second string scrimmage, so we'll see how they're coming along with that. Get the text 614-350-3315, 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. I'm Steven, that's Stefan, that's Andrew. See you later.